Jeeps are very popular with off-road prowess, the technology, and a style that matches Mr. Rogers.
Got new wheels for the car.
I even had a TJ many years ago. I love them. The CEO has coughed up an apology saying to 320,000 owners of Jeeps that we're sorry, and they're actually giving money back. Let's get into it now. Life's too short to drive boring cars. Now, I've always had a soft spot for Jeep Wranglers. I've owned one many years ago, but unfortunately, a few short years ago, the previous outgoing CEO came up with a solution that was going to meet lower tax credits, certainly lower carbon credits, and instead of going pure electric, which they were going to do with Jeeps like this, unfortunately, this particular Jeep went equipped in the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle format, but that's where all the beginning of the end began for a lot of these Jeeps, and a lot of people found these problems. They had so many issues, it seemed like the recall paper that people would receive in the mail, they almost had enough pages to fill up the same volume as a New York phone book from 1985.
The new phone book's here! The new phone book's here!
Now, I personally love the Jeep because the Wranglers have that look. They look like a Tonka toy, and everybody likes to feel like a 12-year-old kid again. Yes, you can get the fun grills and the off-road capabilities. You can pull off the roof, you can pull off the doors, the mirrors, everything slides off. You get four-wheel drive that allows you to trudge your way through snow and mud and all kinds of bush. These are absolutely fun. You've got your extra spare tire back here, and there's in fact room here for 5 people in this particular outfit. So it's practical, it can go off-roading, and it's cool. Hey, who else can pull a roof off and go off-roading and drive it in the summer and winter all in one? And while not everybody wants the big off-road hardcore SUV, of course you can get the Jeep Grand Cherokee like this. You can get the Cherokee L, which means you also get a third row. So it proves to be ultra popular, and it fits into the segment of many other SUVs. And a lot of people love these. As a matter of fact, we've got some friends and family that have owned these, but they've had some issues because there's been massive recalls. Because allegedly there's been 112,859 4xe, that's the plug-in electric SUVs, both the Wrangler and the Grand Cherokee like this, between 2023 and 2025 that had sand left over in the engine that could potentially cause a catastrophic engine failure or even a fire. That's right, they could go up like a tinderbox. I never thought I'd ever see that happen. And so I've always said, unless you're a manufacturer that takes extreme aggressive pride in the construction, the quality of materials, and the engineering is flawless, vehicles with hybrid and electrification just mount to be potential problems. But I've scoured the forums and I found all kinds of owners of these 4xe, and they're constantly debating back and forth about the problems, the issues, the challenges they've had. And a lot of these hybrid system failures spit out either issues, faults, where it doesn't allow you to start an electric mode. It basically just gives you gas mode and the EV mode isn't working. Of course, when you start introducing all of this extra complex technology with the hybrid, there's always this battle between meeting the criteria, the weather, the electronics behind it, of course the switching, the inverters, all of the other electrical components that normally doesn't involve a regular vehicle. Once you incorporate a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, you've got a big battery, you've got a little battery, you've got all kinds of mechanical equipment, and now there's almost this race to see what they need. If there's a problem with one, it defaults to the other. And unfortunately, there's always these challenges in programming and setup and quality control, and the future is absolutely unknown on the overall durability. What does this look like in 10 or 15 years from now? These vehicles are coming out of the box, but unfortunately, there's at least 300,000 owners that have experienced some hardships with their plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And RepairPal actually gives Jeep an average rating, or slightly above, a 3.5 out of 5 star, and about $700 a year for annual servicing. That doesn't mean they're out of the woods, because some of their smaller SUVs like the Jeep Compass like this, who rock a CVT in some of their older units, and continuously variable transmission problems are pretty consistent, as are TIPM issues in some of the older variations and the electrical components, which means your electrical systems, your lights, your mirrors, your gauges. But the CEO and management of Stellantis promised to help and compensate some of the owners of some of these vehicles because of all of the hardships, the problems, the frequent repairs and trips to the dealer, meaning that a lot of people just don't have the confidence in the brand. According to Bob Broderdorf, said most of the brand's Wrangler and Grand Cherokee 4xe hybrids aren't affected by the battery problems, but acknowledge the recalls, which most recently have asked 320,000 owners to stop charging and park away from structures. Could be unsettling. He asked owners, please accept our sincerest apologies. As a valued member of the Jeep family, you deserve a reassuring ownership experience, and we are all very truly sorry if the situation caused any disappointment or concern. The email said the brand is offering $100 MasterCard gift cards to cover unexpected fuel costs since you're being asked to not travel in EV mode. Because allegedly there was a high risk and probability of a battery fire. These Samsung batteries alleged to be installed in these 4xe Jeeps, both the Grand Cherokee as well as the Wrangler, have had a history of some instability, and some programming changes came over the air as well, which created further issues. A broad recall of over 320,000 Jeep 4xe plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, mainly Wrangler. It's the 4xe like this, but the electric version. 228,221 Wrangler 4xe's were affected between 2020 and 2025, and as well as 91,844 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe's were also impacted by this particular battery concern, and the Jeep Grand Cherokees included in this recall were between 2022 and 2026. As far as we know, Jeep acknowledged 19 incidents and 1 injury as a result of this particular defect. It's bad enough that the regular Wrangler has had its share of issues as well. When we look at a lot of these, we know the TIPM has been a problem. Transmission related issues have been a problem. Fit and finish components, these latches don't really hold all that well, and I've seen these covers, the cover of the engine compartment actually lift at highway speeds. There's a lot of comments about the A-pillar right here letting water in, as well as there's been a lot of problems with the paint. Allegedly just random premature bubbling of paint and early corrosion behind a lot of the paintwork on a lot of these JL series of the Jeep Wranglers. Death wobble, another problem. When we look underneath there and the vehicle, once it starts to see a little wear, the extra articulation in the suspension means that there's a high probability of the front end of the vehicle becoming very unstable. Jeeps have always had their share of troubles, but as we get newer with more technology, it just seems to be adding to the list of issues, the growing number of problems that a lot of consumers are having. I myself personally don't mind the Wrangler in its basic form. Give me a manual gearbox and a V6, you're good to go. The V8's pretty cool too, but as soon as you start introducing the electrified systems, the hybrid, and even the Recon as they were going to introduce, things get real. And if you want to see what some of the best cars available out there, some of the cars that I love, join the membership program today. Get it while it's hot. You're gonna love it. You're gonna see everything that makes me tick. Sadly, more problems with the Wrangler also include an over-the-air update that they introduced as well later in 2025, which essentially end up bricking a whole pile of these Jeeps. A 2025 recall covered about 24,238 Wrangler 4xe vehicles with an over-the-air update. The problem was it didn't work all that well and ended up shutting down a lot of vehicles. Jeep recorded 111 customer assistance reports, 69 field reports, as well as 55 service records related directly to this particular over-the-air update, meaning that that didn't work all that well either. Now, as far as Samsung batteries, time will tell how this actually pans out. A few years ago, BMW and their hybrid vehicle in the X5 also utilized a similar battery. There was known internal faults to the battery, and it created a whole host of problems that were also recalled. So this is clearly a little bit of a technological advancement problem. The worst part is, have you seen the prices of some of these Jeeps recently? During the last 2020 to 25, we've seen a massive escalation in prices. That's another major reason. Like $49,000. Gladiator Mojave X4x4 of $86,000. Rubicon X4xe, whole pile of lists right there. But how much? $85,000? So for me, I wouldn't buy small vehicles like the Compass. They're not built to the same standard. I also wouldn't buy the Wagoneer or the Grand Wagoneer, as they're far over in excess of $100,000, and the Wagoneer S now, which is pure EV, and it's no shock nobody's buying them. I'd probably personally avoid anything that looked like a hybrid electric vehicle that was plug-in, like the 4xe Grand Cherokee or the Wrangler, because I'm not a glutton for punishment. But to me, Jeeps, if you're gonna buy a Jeep, you've got to keep it simple. That's the key. They started out simple, think Willys, they should end simple. But if you'd like to understand some of the Jeeps I would actually buy, right there, the only ones I would personally own. Hope to see each and every one of you real soon, everybody. Catch you then. Bye-bye.